There was a statistic that came out by Ariel Investments, and it was in collaboration with Charles Schwab, where they said 45% of Black investors don't fully understand the sectors they're invested in, but 68% under 40 are actively investing. So that means that there's a gap, right? So more people are invested than ever before, which is amazing, but they also don't fully understand what they're investing in.
Gloria Steinem once said, "We will never solve the feminization of power until we solve the masculinity of wealth." Barbara Provost and Maggie Nielsen are the team at Purse Strings that will help you navigate the ins and outs of financial independence so that you can be financially fearless. This is Women in Money, the shit we don't talk about.
Hello, we are excited to have Chelsea Ransom-Cooper on the show with us today. So before we dive into this conversation, Chelsea, could you give us a little who you are, what you do, so the audience can get to know you?
Absolutely, and thank you so much for having me. So my name is Chelsea Ransom-Cooper. I am a certified financial planner and the Chief Financial Planning Officer here at Zenith Wealth Partners. I am born and raised in New Jersey, and I am the daughter of a fashion designer. So that is my fun fact I always like to claim. My mom is still, to this day, she's a technical fashion designer. She made my prom dress, she made my Halloween costumes, all the things. But I always say she had the design mind, but finances were never they didn't come very naturally to her. So as I started growing up and after I graduated college, I started to have more financial questions, honestly. And I started to realize there was a gap between, what I knew and what my family knew, and then some of my peers as they were graduating. So that's what really got me into finance, honestly. I always say, I'm the financial planner or the financial advisor I wish my mom could have had over 30 years ago. But that's really my motivation, is being able to help her. It's been really exciting to help her now, but that's how I actually got into wealth management. So I started at a boutique RIA, and I was specifically helping individuals who were about 10 years away from retirement and then in retirement with just planning for their wealth, investing. But I got to a point as I was working there where I looked around and I didn't have any clients of color, and I only had a handful that were women. So it kind of just felt like I was helping a very specific subset of society with money, but not really working with the people who inspired me to be in this position in the first place. So 2020 was that time where I feel like the whole world reset in multiple ways. And that just felt like a really natural time to try to find a space where I could be more intentional with who I was working for and supporting. And I could not necessarily find a firm that was really going to focus on first generation wealth builders and helping them with planning and investment advice at the caliber that I had seen at the past firm. So that's when I decided to partner with a friend of mine who felt the same way and wanted to democratize access to investments and private placements. And we decided to partner together to create the firm that we wanted to see. So that was in September 2020. So fast forward now, we're still growing this business, and it's been really exciting and rewarding to know that same vision and mission is still what we're doing today. So that's a little bit about me, and I'm still in New Jersey.
It's like the be the change you want to see in the world, right? That's the action you took.
Exactly.
And is your mom still giving you any great outfits?
All of them. So if you ever see me at a conference, I'm always in my mom's clothes. So specifically, she works for Karl Lagerfeld and Calvin Klein. So that is the majority of my work attire.
Wow, lucky. That's awesome. Well, it's nice. It's kind of you're the yin yang, right? So she's a creative and you're like, let's get the monies in order, right, Mom?
Exactly. So she has the fun side, and then I make sure all the math and the numbers make sense.
It's a great partnership right there, I think. So let's dive in. So you work with high earning Black women who are first in their families to build real wealth. So what is the moment you see over and over again when someone realizes this responsibility is now on them?
Yeah, so similar to myself, right? When I mentioned that when I graduated from college and I started having conversations, I realized there was a disconnect in where I was starting in comparison to some of my peers. With a lot of the high earning Black women that we work with, we notice that same feeling where they start to have conversations casually with their counterparts, and they start to realize that maybe they aren't doing as much as they thought they were, or they'll realize somebody already has their estate documents set up, or a trust, or their parents helped them with a down payment, or even waiting to get a financial advisor or a financial planner. So I think that's when it typically usually clicks for them. And they say, okay, you know what? I'm saving and I'm maxing out my retirement. So I'm putting enough in my 401k. But that's not enough to really live the lifestyle that I want to live. And I'd say that's usually the moment that we see over and over again, where people start to reach out to us specifically and they realize they want to have a better foundation to really building wealth.
I feel like that's like across the board. That's a big thing where people wait of like, well, I don't have kids. I don't need an estate plan. Like, I don't have 2 million, so I don't need an advisor, you know? And it's like the first million's the hardest to make, right?
The first million is the hardest to make. We should put that on a t-shirt, Maggie. Like, honestly.
I am struggling with it right now, you know? I'm trying to get that million under my belt. And so it is hard to convince people to have those conversations, especially if no one in your family has, you know, had a financial advisor. They've always been this 60-year-old white man. It's kind of hard to be like, no, actually, this is something you need, because you seem like, no, it's not something I need. Like, especially even if you're just younger, you know, it's like, I'm 30. Why would I need that? And you're like, well, it can really help.
It really can. And we know that the majority of people who have built significant wealth do have an advisor. And they know what their zone of genius is, right? Like, what are the things they're really good at? And they know that the things that they aren't necessarily really good at, they're going to outsource to make sure that they're getting the best advice so that they can achieve their goals and go in the right direction. So I think it's the same thing when you're thinking about working with a financial planner or an advisor. Especially a lot of our clients are what we call those Henrys, or high earners, not rich yet. And sometimes they struggle with the concept of, I don't have the assets yet, so like, do I really need an advisor? And there's just so much more that we talk about than just assets under management or investing that can be really helpful to push people in the right direction for their finances.
Let's take a quick pause to hear from this week's episode sponsor.
Let me ask you something. You built a successful business, but does your financial plan actually support your whole life beyond just your work? Hi, I'm Randall Franklin with Franklin Wealth Management in Madisonville, Kentucky. I work with female entrepreneurs and business owners like you to create personalized strategies that support your entire life, not just your business. Women often face added pressure to balance family, work, and major financial decisions without clear guidance. Too often it feels like you're expected to choose between your career and your life. My approach starts by understanding your full picture, both financial and non-financial, so that your plan actually works for you. If you're ready to take a step back, see the big picture, and get clear on what matters most, let's start there. You can find the link to schedule a call with me in the show notes, and I would love to help you take that next step with confidence.
Now back to our show.
I love everything about what you just said, because like Maggie said, people are like, I don't have that much money. I really don't need it. You know what I mean? That's how you get the money. It's by working with the experts who can help you parlay what you are earning or what you have saved into something that's richer as you let it ride, you know, if you're investing it correctly. And in fact, I'm facilitating a session this week for women on why women should invest now, because women wait, right? They wait, or they wait to invest, or they don't invest. They just put it in something really, really safe. And as we know, women will, for the most part, age alone, age solo, and they really need to make sure that they are leveraging their investments as much as possible because of that. So your message to young women that start as soon as you can, learn as much as you can, and work with the right professionals is so smart. And don't wait until you feel like, now I'm 55 and now I can start working with a financial advisor. You've lost lots of time.
You really have. And those are the most disheartening conversations that I have when someone comes to me at 55. And I'm like, oh, we've missed so many years. Like, I can't pull a rabbit out of my hat, unfortunately. And, you know, we have to have the tough conversations, which could look like, you know, you need to work longer than you originally wanted to, or you just need to really adjust what your lifestyle will look like in retirement. And those are never the fun conversations, which is why I even wanted to create Zenith and position ourselves in this way. So at Zenith, our average client age is, I believe, 41 right now. I would say the majority sit between 35 and 55, with some outliers on both sides. But I'd say that's really our sweet spot. And it's been a joy to help people at that space because we still have time to course correct if there have been any bad habits or behaviors or even just sometimes mistakes or wrong decisions. We still have the time to play catch up and fix it to make sure that they can live the life they want.
And so I feel like that kind of leads us into our next question is we hear discipline, and sometimes to get back on the right path, we need discipline or something like that. But a lot of people then think, well, that means deprivation, right? And I know you talk about how money discipline without deprivation. So tell us how that looks like in real life.
So I think the deprivation element is sometimes because it feels like a sacrifice, right? Where I'm sacrificing X to do Y, or it's like, oh, I'm sacrificing my lattes or whatever the case is to put money into my 401k or my backdoor Roth IRA or whatever it is. But I always try to encourage people to just reprogram their minds and thinking like it's not necessarily a sacrifice, but you're really aligning with your future self and what you want to achieve, right? So having the discipline in your spending and your saving and in your investing can help you say, I'm not saying no, but maybe I'm just saying not right now. And I think when you reframe it as not right now, it doesn't feel like a sacrifice, or you can catch up maybe later this year, next year, in the future to do that thing. It doesn't necessarily feel as discouraging. And I think that's where the discipline to focus on in it, think about it in that way, can be really helpful.
All right, Maggie, tell her about your account.
My grandma account?
Mm-hmm.
I have a little account that's just labeled like 80-year-old Maggie, and it has like a little old lady emoji on it.
I love that.
Whenever the investments go in there, or I think that's the way it's on my app, like my budget tracker. And so when the money goes to my investment account, that's how it looks in my budget tracker. And so it's envisioning, I'm so done of savings account number 2, retirement, even the name 401k, that's a line item on a legal document, 401.k, please. And so having that vision of okay, what does 80-year-old Maggie want? Then that makes, skipping that meal out or something like that way better, because I know she's going to be needy and she's going to want to travel and she's going to have a lot of things she wants to do. And so giving up, a meal out to eat now and then here is really beneficial.
I love that idea. Honestly, Maggie, can I take that? That is a great idea. Because it makes it so much more motivational too, because I don't understand the obsession with combining numbers and letters into retirement accounts. But Maggie at 80 or Maggie at 65, we can all feel that, right? And understand why we want to have enough money for that.
Yeah, we got to make it, not so drab all the time. Not so the plain blue and the gray and the drab. We're not doing it.
No, not at all.
So what are some rules or guidelines, you clients can use to kind of change this discipline to deprivation?
Yeah. So for individuals who sometimes struggle with or feel like they're juggling multiple different layers of their finances, I say always try to automate as much as you can. Mm-hmm. So one of the simplest things that we typically like to do, especially with clients who are just getting started, is just seeing how much we can automate directly from their paycheck. So it's one less thing that they have to think about. So if we decide we want to put 30% into savings, instead of giving them that extra job on a monthly basis to transfer it from their checking to their savings, we just set it up automatically through the paycheck. And pretty consistently for people who have trouble with saving or knowing where their money is going, that out of sight, out of mind element is a really helpful way where that money is able to go into savings. And then from there, you can directly have it into the investments. Some paycheck providers allow you to put it directly into the investments from your paycheck, but I'd say it's very few. So typically that's why we like to lean on the directly going it from the paycheck into savings, the savings into the investments. We don't even look at that account. We keep it inconvenient, so it's at a separate bank than your checking or your credit cards. And then that's where you can really just focus on and automate that wealth building so that you're putting yourself first, whether it's today or whether it's even you at 65 or 80.
Yeah, keep it simple, right? Keep it simple, out of sight, out of mind, and just make it happen on the regular. So cool. So your clients, they focus on being work optional. Can you speak to that? How is that different from retirement?
So it's so funny because Some would say it is close to retirement, but I think retirement is going through a rebrand right now where work optional just feels more exciting. Because when we think about retirement and when I ask clients, I was like, what do you want retirement to look like to you? And they're like, oh, Chelsea, I don't want to end up on a beach in Florida. Like there is that assumption of what retirement looks like, maybe because they spoke to other family members or friends or even television. It probably has all had an impact. But what they've really said is that they want to have a life where they have the choice, where they have control of what they do next. And that could be, pivoting into purpose-driven work, maybe nonprofit work, maybe board service, maybe starting a business or doing consulting. But I think a lot of our clients, they're the backbone of their family, right? Or of their communities. And they're typically the first in their family to be making the level of income that they're making. So there is this sense of pressure where they don't want to feel like they're messing it up and that they're not taking advantage of a great opportunity. So when we say work optional lifestyle, what we're saying is they want to have the choice to not have to work just to survive, but to really thrive and work in things that are aligned with their passion and their purpose that really bring them joy and peace in ways that, maybe during their working years or even their childhood, they didn't necessarily feel like they had.
I was recently at this session where this woman was talking. She retired from her job of 30 years where she was working high up on the board. Took a couple months off, and then somebody's like, hey, there's this open board position at this hospital where actually her daughter was, and her daughter went through, cancer or something like that. And so she was really involved in the hospital, and she's like, it was so great to then not have to work, have this breathing time, but then being able to go to this board, bring all those great skills I had from being at this company for so long and applying them here, having that passion, kind of doing that through the life of my daughter and giving all that back. And yeah, you still made income. That's great. But it wasn't like I need a job for income. And so it was nice to kind of have that flow and see, what does life bring me for that next chapter? Where can I apply these skills that I've worked so hard to sharpen and bring it somewhere where I have that passion? And it's not like, well, if you're not making $300K a year, the family's not retiring. It's like, it's like this middle where, yeah, it's still a job, commitment. I'm committed to it. I have to show up. But it's not, this is going to make or break the family bank account.
Right. And it's really that second act that it sounds like she's really invested in and trying to figure out what joy looks like in that space too. We actually have a client who is going through this phase right now, and she's doing it more as a sabbatical. And it's so interesting because when she was working her traditional corporate job, there were cash flow issues, budgeting issues. We were really trying to make sure that she stayed the course with a lot of our recommendations around her cash flow. And she felt like she needed to make a significant amount of money and she couldn't leave because of her lifestyle was so expensive. She got to the point where she was at her job and she was just fed up. So she ended up deciding to take a year off. And in that year off, she has spent less than half of what she was spending at corporate. And what we realized was she was just so unhappy in the situation she was in that she was just spending and spending because she needed to feel like she had control of something in her life. Where now she's like, I actually don't think I need that much. And I'm ready to go back to corporate, but something that excites me. And she's willing to take pay that's half the pay. So I say all that to say, sometimes the space that you're in is not aligned with where you need to be too. And sometimes some poor financial habits could actually be more of a reflection of certain things you're feeling internally.
Yeah, it really is. And maybe we retire that word retirement.
It used to be such a short time where now if you retire at 65 and live to 100, you got time to kill.
You need a lot of money.
And that's the thing that people forget about the most is, individuals will say, Chelsea, I want to retire earlier at 50 or 55. And I'm like, well, as a woman, your life expectancy could be up to 95. So we need your money to now last 45 years. We have to do more than just putting the maximum into your 401k or your IRA. We need this money to last at the same lifestyle that you want to have right now, roughly. That's a long time to make sure that you don't run out of money and to make sure that you're keeping up with inflation. So I think that's the piece that a lot of our clients, when they first come to us, they underestimate. They're so focused on the year that they can stop. They're not thinking about how long their money needs to last when they do stop.
And I like how the one lady kind of took a year sabbatical. It's not like work endlessly until 65. It's take a year off, enjoy it, then get back at it when you're feeling refreshed. It's not like this marathon. You can take a break.
Absolutely. And she purchased an investment property during her break, and she's been having so much fun decorating it and now renting it out. And she was able to build another stream of income during this break. And then now she's ready to get back.
That's awesome. I love it. But what are the biggest financial mistakes you see women make when they're planning, a transition, like from an employer to an owner or entrepreneur? So many women are leaving the workforce because they can't take the corporate anymore, or they've hit a place where they know they're not going to get much higher on the ladder, and they know they can do more, and they know they can earn more. They're positive. They feel very good about their skill set. But it's really a skinny limb when you do that, right? When you leave what some people call the golden handcuffs, your benefits, your bonuses, and all of that, to really be your own owner or entrepreneur.
Yeah. Well, this is also a reflection on Chelsea 5 years ago too, right? Because when I left that firm, I did not take any clients. I truly started from ground zero. And I think the best decision I made was to make sure I had at least 12 months of expenses saved. And that really gave me the peace of mind to know, okay, I can cover all of my bills as I figure out, what I'm trying to build, who I want to work with. Because I think the hardest thing, if you do decide to create your own business or go out on your own, is sales. And when you're selling from a place of desperation, people can feel that, right? They can feel like, all right, this person's getting a little aggressive. It seems like they really need the money. And that's not a good experience for anyone. So I think when you can feel confident in where you are and you have that transition fund, whether it's 9 or 12 months, it just gives you the peace of mind to really reflect on what you need and not have to worry about the cash flow. I think another piece is when you are going out on your own, understanding that you need to charge enough to cover your expenses and not shortchanging yourself because of fear or comparison or you're unsure. Some of the best advice I received from somebody as I was going out on my journey was, she was like, well, what would you do if you were a 27-year-old male? And I was like, well, I wouldn't even be having this conversation with you right now. And she was like, that is exactly my point. Like, you have to have that confidence and believe in yourself because there are people with less experience or potentially even less credentials who just have the audacity to do the things that you would like to do. So try not to be shy and lean into the zone of genius and the expertise you have built. So I think that's an important part, especially for women who are moving from potentially employee to owner or entrepreneur or something that is just a little bit more around their own self and creating their own income. I think those are the biggest pieces that they need to keep in mind.
God, to channel a 27-year-old white boy's audacity.
You can channel all that, but we have, even in our positions today, I can't tell you how many people have come to us and wanted our services for free.
Really?
Yeah. And sometimes it's other women.
I think that's definitely when it gets tough or discouraging. And that's happened also in the beginning with us as well. Of course, our costs or our fees were not the same in 2020 as they are in 2026. But I think the way I found peace and comfort with it is the amount of people on our team. Everyone on our team is either a woman or a person of color or both. So if I am not charging enough to take care of them, to make sure that they can take care of their families, I'm actually potentially doing a disservice and widening the gender wealth gap, the racial wealth gap, all of these pieces, if I can't take care of the people that we have here. So I think that has given me the comfort of knowing, like, my commitment is to making sure everyone here can take care of themselves. And then for anyone else who does want to potentially work with us or support our services in other ways, we do group coaching and pro bono with nonprofits. If anyone ever wants to have a call, we always offer an intro call where they can ask us any questions for free. So we do try to balance it out, making sure that our mission is aligned, but we are running a business at the same time.
I love that. And so when you explained how you saved like 12 months worth of your living expenses, kept in a high yield savings account, maybe?
Kept in a high yield savings account, yeah.
Okay. And then did you, on top of that, save more money that you knew was going to go like actually to build the business, get the license, buy the programs, things like that? Or is that part of out of that 12 months as well?
That's a great question. So that was a combination of part of that. And then also, like, since Jason and I were partnered together, we did have like a pool of capital that was specifically for that. But we were really fortunate that the money that we were bringing in initially as we partnered was enough just to cover the expenses. So it was able to, we didn't necessarily pay ourselves very much, if anything, in that first year, but at least the money coming in was able to just cover the expenses.
Yeah, that's always a great win. And sometimes it's just hard to figure out, like, okay, I have my own living expenses, but what am I going to put into the business? Did I chart that out and all those things? Because I mean, those systems add up, the license add up, the, lawyers add up, whatever you need to get all those business essentials started, which, we talk about. We had a podcast on, business insurance and getting the right legal things and all of that stuff, which it all adds up.
It does. Legal fees are the ones that I think are the most painful personally.
Yeah, it's cheaper than court.
It is, absolutely.
So when you talk about legacy for first generation wealth builders, where do you actually start?
Ooh, that's a good question. So we try to ask them, what does legacy and wealth mean to you? To really get a better understanding of what's most important to them. And this answer is always going to be different depending on if individuals have children or if they don't, or just thinking about how they've talked about finances potentially with their wider family. We always ask, who do you want to protect? Who do you want to empower? And then we think about what are the tools they would need for this, whether it's creating their estate documents, potentially creating a trust so they have a little bit more control from the grave, thinking about life insurance. And then if their family is really working together, coming up with a family financial plan that is bigger than just the parents or our direct clients, but thinking about what they truly want their family to feel and understand. What do they want their giving to look like? What do they want education to look like? What do they want financial freedom or ownership to look like? Because it's really not about just what you leave behind, but it's about the intentional life you live and the values and the beliefs that you instill in others. And I think that's the biggest piece about your legacy as well. So that's typically how we like to start the conversation.
So what does your legacy look like to you, Chelsea?
Ooh, that is a great question. So my legacy to me looks like encouraging and empowering the next generation of female advisors to have the similar, if not better, success than me, where they know that there is a path and a purpose to working with people they want to work with profitably and successfully. That would be the highlight. If I do nothing else, that would be a dream of a successful legacy, along with just really being able to give back to where my family is from. So I have family in Trinidad and Tobago. So I always say I want to be a better bridge to my family that's still there, whether it's through business ownership or financial literacy. Those are the things that really define my legacy.
I love that. That's awesome.
And we read that you is it Carnival?
I do, yes. Yes, you have to come. It is a full experience. Trinidad and Tobago and Brazil are the two largest carnivals in the world. So it is truly a fun experience where you just get to celebrate culture for a week. Yes.
How fun. Yeah.
Legacy is always interesting. I think about that, the one Beyonce song where she talks about leaving all her dresses to her daughter, and that's your legacy, and all this money of how my great grandkids are already richer than you. And I think about just the wealth that trickles down, but what else can that legacy be besides just cash? You know what I mean? And so I love how yours is also that education and making sure that path is, smoother to walk down and maybe a bit shorter and things of those nature too. It's not just making sure that the money, trickles down to your great grandchildren, even though they would appreciate that.
Right. Well, now I'm curious, what does legacy mean to both of you?
Well, for me, that's an easy one. I mean, Purse Strings is my legacy in terms of our mission of really making sure that women have a go-to resource where they can get financial tools and resources to help them make smart financial decisions for themselves, their families, their businesses. And then when they need to hire a financial professional, we have a vetted list of financial professionals from attorneys and lenders and realtors and financial planners who serve women, who serve a female market. So we've kind of encapsulated this boutique, if you will, cadre of amazing men and women who are in financial services, who really want to lift up women and really want to be part of their financial journey and make sure that they can also live a beautiful life full of choices.
And mine, I would definitely, it's something around, making sure that that wealth gap is starting to be closed or is smaller after I'm done with my work, because it has to be, it needs to be. And something about just keep making sure women know their power and their strength, because we haven't always had all of this opportunity. And so making sure we have it and we hold it and we use it. And also, just making sure that, my loved ones, if they have any financial issues, they always can have some support. So no one's floundering. Yeah, we don't have to put Dr. Barb out on the street, If we need to put her in a long-term care home, I'll pay for the long-term care home.
Exactly.
That's what I raised you for, girl.
So, if a high-earning woman, maybe even more specifically a Black woman, is worried about, messing it up, what's like one of the first couple things you would want her to focus on, this year to start going down that right path?
Okay, so the first one is going to be tracking and mastering your cash flow. So my favorite tools that I always encourage Zenith clients to take a look at are Monarch Money and then Copilot. Since we lost Mint, it's been very sad.
I'm all Copilot.
Oh, yeah, Copilot's great. Monarch Money is pretty good too, especially for couples, but I love Copilot. It's been really easy to use. But I think the biggest thing is you really need to know your numbers to know how effectively they're growing. And we know that when it comes to building wealth, your savings rate is just as important as the rate of return that you're trying to receive in your investment accounts. So the amount that you're putting into investments is just as important as fast as it's growing. So really understanding your cash flow, that is absolutely crucial. And then starting to invest in your own education. So especially when it comes to investments, if you feel like you're behind, like you're absolutely not alone, but the only way is to start to read books, listen to podcasts like this, and understand how you can really get a better handle of some of the terms. There was a statistic that came out by Ariel Investments, and it was in collaboration with Charles Schwab, where they said 45% of Black investors don't fully understand the sectors they're invested in, but 68% under 40 are actively investing. So that means that there's a gap, right? So more people are invested than ever before, which is amazing, but they also don't fully understand what they're investing in. And this is where I start to get a pause and I get worried, because we know that there's been things in the past in regard to Black people trying to get access to financial services or investing, and potentially negative things happening to them in those instances. So I think it's just really important that there's education first to make sure we fully understand what we're investing in. And then lastly, I would say thinking about the big 5 areas of financial planning. So cash flow, investments, taxes, estate, and insurance. You do not need to hit all of those at once. I like to say focus on 1 or 2 each year and just really hone in on it and understand it to make sure that you're building out a cohesive wealth strategy for you.
I feel like I mentioned those 5 words to anyone and they just no longer want to talk to me. You know what I mean? Like,
that is fair. The ones that I think the way that I've had a lot of success is just bringing it up in ways that they can truly relate to. So reminding them, for example, when my grandparents passed away, dealing with the estate and everything was such a headache. It was such a heavy lift. But the fact that we had life insurance, and insurance is the first thing that you can access when someone passes away, just made it easier to be able to cover the funeral and any additional costs as we got on our feet. And when I talk to clients, they have a story like that, right? Maybe it was a family member that did have everything organized and it worked really well, or they didn't and it was a mess and it just created so many problems. And I think toggling into those memories is a good reminder and a good motivation on the why behind we're doing these things, right?
I mean, Chelsea and Maggie saying it is a great reason, but it does help make it like applicable and being like, all right, so when am I going to see this cash again? It's like, well, you might not. You might be in the grave, but your family will, and this is why they appreciate it.
Yeah. It's a love letter to your family.
A love letter to your family. I like that. So legacy, financial education, and financial planning is a love letter to your family.
There you go.
Another t-shirt.
Yeah. We should do a t-shirt business.
This has been just such a great conversation. I feel just more empowered being here, talking about it. There is a question we like to ask everybody who's on the podcast. So Chelsea, what is your own definition of financial freedom?
Financial freedom for me is having the flexibility to choose where I want to go in life without having to feel stress or worry, and to know that I can say yes to opportunities and I'm not truly defined just by my monthly paycheck. So I think that's where I can really live on my own terms. And honestly, it's probably work optional lifestyle. I know we've said it a lot on this podcast, so I was trying to avoid it again. But I think that's really what financial freedom means to me, is having the choice to do things that I'm passionate about and I love, and I don't have to worry about my monthly paycheck.
Sounds perfect to me.
Well, yeah, thank you, Chelsea, for coming on, for sharing your expertise. Of course, all of her information will be in the show notes, so you can reach out, connect, and keep the conversation going. Like we said, it's great to talk to a financial planner early, so let's get started. Talk to Chelsea, talk to one of our purse strings approved professionals, and let's take some action.
Absolutely. Let's get to it for 2026.
Ooh, here's to 2026. Ladies, cheers.
You've been listening to Women in Money, the shit we don't talk about. Now it's time to take what you've learned and make bold moves towards financial independence. Stay in the know by joining our newsletter for exclusive tools, resources, and updates that keep you financially fearless. Head to pursestrings.co and sign up today. Need a financial professional who gets it? Turn to Purse Strings Curated Directory, your go-to resource for financial experts who know how to put you first. Love this episode? Leave us a review and help us empower even more women to own their financial power. Until next time, be financially fearless.